Ladies and gentlemen, it is after 4 o'clock. It is on a Friday afternoon. Duke won, State lost, Carolina and Miami are yet to play. I don't know about y'all, but I'm ready to get the show on the road. Welcome this afternoon for those of you who have been attending sessions all day. I know you're used to just sitting down all day long listening to someone talk to you. But we thank you for your participation. My name is Julia McCombs, and I have with me Elizabeth Jordan. We represent Pearson. Now, I do want to clarify something. If you think we're going to give you a training on Powerschool, that's not what this is about. We are Pearson, and what we are going to talk about is how some of our other products will work and be companions to Powerschool. And so for many of you, that's what you know about Pearson, is what you're now hearing about Powerschool and home base. We are excited about that project because I will tell you, it is the first in the nation. North Carolina is being kind of held up as an example to the other states of how a whole state can come in and take a system and roll everyone, whether you're a charter school or any of the public schools, and have access to one place, one sign-on, where you're going to be able to go in and get data for your students and pull curriculum and be able to interface other things that you're doing all in one system. As a Pearson employee, we're excited about the fact that we're just along for the ride. And what we're going to talk about today are some products that are along for the ride. Elizabeth is going to introduce to you 3 different products that really hit the range of kindergarten through 12th grade. So if you are less than kindergarten or more than 12th grade, maybe you're not in the right place. But otherwise, we welcome you here. We'll be talking about three different products, one called GradPoint, one called Success Maker, and one called Right to Learn. And so I'm just going to go ahead and tell Elizabeth to take it over. Oh, and by the way, in case you didn't know, we did give you a tool. It is not to knock out your husband or your wife tonight when you get back home, but if you pop it off, it is a flash drive. So we want to make sure everybody knew what they had. And if you didn't get one, I'll make sure you get one.
It has all 3 new programs on it.
Oh, don't you wish? Aren't you the clever one?
All right. Well, as Julia said, I am Elizabeth Jordan, and what we want to talk about are 3 products that are going to harness your Powerschool and be companions to those. Pearson is looking at, we're not just a small company. We're your world's leading education company. And Pearson got on board with your Common Core when the Common Core was first talked about. And we're looking at how students learn, we're looking at how teachers teach, and Pearson is forever changing to adapt to what's out there now. And so with that, we want to provide digital solutions that are going to hit that Common Core. I know a lot of us have, when we talk with people and they're thinking about the tests coming up, if you're in the grade test or whatever, and they're thinking, oh, Common Core, are we ready for it? How many of you had that sinking feeling? Come on, hands up if you're honest. All right, so if that is the case, yeah, we're looking at Common Core, but we're also looking at solutions that might help you with your Common Core. As Julia said, 3 products that we're going to talk about. I'm going to just give you a teeny overview of each one, and then we're going to delve into each one. GradPoint. GradPoint is for middle school, high school students. It will deliver your core, your AP, accelerated placement, your electives. So if you need a course for a student, whether it be any of those, whether they need to recover a credit or to accrue a credit, GradPoint's a course that can do that for you. Success Maker is a K-8 program, kindergarten through 8. Where are my kindergarten through 8th grade people? So I've got your eye, I know who you are. Okay? And it is a course that's going to be a reading and a math course to cover grades K-8. Supplemental. Success Maker does not take the place of the teacher. It supplements the teacher, and we'll talk about how that happens. And then Right to Learn. Right to Learn is a product that's very different from if you sat in on any other or you visited any other vendor. Because Right to Learn has got not only your essay writings in it, where we got more than 400 writing prompts that cover cross-curricular, but it also has 1,000 essay writings connected. And that's how we differ from other writing people, vendors that are selling the product. The essay writings, where we introduce the vocabulary before they do the essay. Summarization, I'm sorry. So that we introduce the vocabulary before they do the summarization. They read, and then they come back and they summarize what they've read. So it makes it a literacy program for you with comprehension being there. So that's
What grade levels is that generally?
grades 4 to 12. So let's dig in then, and let's start then with Grad Point and what is Grad Point all about. I'd like to begin Grad Point with a little video here. Hang on. Video in just a very short amount of time can say more than I can say about the product in that length of time. So when we take a look at Grad Point, we're taking a look at every learner, grade 6 through 8, and looking at what does that learner need to graduate, because that's our idea, is we want every student graduating. Isn't that your focus? That's our focus. And so everyone. Now, what does Grad Point include? If you're looking at your middle school, you're going to get all your core and electives. The high school is going to offer you your core, your AP courses, as well as your electives. So let's take a look at what that may look like. Here's your middle school full core, your language arts, your math, your sciences, your social studies. So at a middle school level, we can offer those courses. So if you don't have a teacher in place and you need a course that a student needs, or perhaps maybe a student has failed a course and he needs that course to move to high school, that may be a good way to get this. So full core. We'll also offer electives for those middle schoolers if they need that. And of course, we're always expanding our catalog. It never ends. If we're looking on at the high school, we'll offer these, again, these 4 courses: language arts, math, science, and social studies, with a language here. Now, the nice thing about each one of those courses that are listed in that core is that each course is delivered in 3 different ways, and you pick the path that you want it to be delivered by. So I can pick a path and say, I want a student to do it prescriptive. So I need to offer him English 1, and he's failed it. I want to offer it prescriptive. So what it's going to do, it's going to come in, it's going to assess him, what has he missed, and it's going to move him quickly through because it will only touch on what he doesn't know. If you have a student that needs English 1, and has never taken English 1, we can assign it, instead of doing it prescriptive, we can assign it sequential, meaning you're going to take everything. You need the seat time. English 1, you need it all. So you're going to do the seat time, and you're going to see every module lesson by lesson through it. Or we can do it open. I had a grandson who called me, and he was just crying. He was in middle school, and he says, Nana, I really don't understand slope, and I've got a test tomorrow. I said, Trey, that's okay. And I put him in our Algebra 1 course and said, go here, work through it. So it was open. Trey didn't have to take everything to get so open sequence. He could go right to that one lesson and pull it out, so it can support what you're doing in the classroom as well. Open. So every course, 3 different ways, and it depends on how you assign it as to what a student might see. Let me give you an example of that. Suppose you said, I have a student who has failed English 1, or you can put Algebra 1 in there, any subject area you want to that's a core subject. He's taken it, he's not done well, he's got to have the credit. Can you put a name in that? All right, so we can offer this course prescriptive, and what it means is going to be diagnostic. Every module is going to be delivered where they will take a pretest, there will be lessons, and there will be a post-test. So when he takes the pretest, if he scores 80% or better on that particular module, he moves to module 2. And so what it's doing is assessing, what do you know? Let's skip over that you already know, and let's move quickly, because we're trying to make up a credit. Okay, we're recovering a credit. If that student should score less than 80%, it's going to say, oh, no, you got to go back and we're going to review some of those lessons that you didn't do well in. And then what it's going to do is then, when they do that, then they will take the post-test on that unit, on that particular module. When they take the post-test, if they do well, on to module 2. If they don't do well, it's going to go back up and re-deliver what skills they need, and then come back to that post-test and take it. So it's all about mastering that learning. And that's the way we can do. So our course is very highly structured. If you do it in a prescriptive manner, they're getting that basic instruction, and I can easily track that in the management system in terms of what those students are doing in the software. So when we talk about core, when you think in one course, no, you're talking about 3 different ways that course can be delivered. How do you want it to be delivered to your students? So again, we'll offer your AP courses. Do you have any need for those courses? We'll offer those courses. And if you're interested later, we can email you one of our catalogs that will give you all the courses that are there. High school electives, you got a student that's interested in Chinese 3, but yet you can't offer it, you can through Grad Point. An elective, somebody will take criminology, forensic science, where you do these reality shows. If they want an elective, we can offer that as well. So all of these addressing that common core is what we're aligned to. So here's a sample lesson. So we've taken a few just so that you look at it. We'll go live and show you some live. So as the student launches, if you look up here, there are 4 parts to a lesson. There'll be an introduction, there'll be an instructive practice, a review, and an assessment of this. So in this, the student is done the introduction, giving him an overview of what he's going to do, and then it's going to give him his objective. What is the objective that you're here? And my keywords, and that's all what the Common Core is about. Do you understand the vocabulary associated with what you're doing? And the student has access to tools up here where we encourage them to get a notebook and write. It's like having a teacher. So I can do blended learning, online learning, any of that you want to do. So again, here's one of those Common Core, building that academic vocabulary. And that's what Grad Point does well. All right, also as the students work through that text, you know, one of the Common Core says that they will not only hear a lecture from teachers, but they also need to be reading text themselves and gleaning information from the text. And Grad Point gives them a perfect example to be able to do that through the activities that the students will do here in this. Common Core says the students really need to have knowledge about what they're doing. I was that math teacher, middle school math teacher. Anybody in here, math at your heart? Gotcha. And oftentimes it would anger me because somebody else teaching math says, well, you just do it this way. Well, you don't tell kids you just do it that way. They got to have that understanding of why it's being done. And so Grad Point does a wonderful job with that, so they'll deeply understand and can use that understanding to operate within the math is what they're doing. So again, grad point. And what I want to do is log in where you can actually see the software, and then we can certainly ask questions about what we're doing. What I'm going to be doing is logging in as a teacher. So you're not seeing a student screen. This gives me a little more advantage as to what I can do to be able to demo to you. Now, the teacher has just logged in and I'm logged into the software. Here are the courses the teacher has been assigned that I might teach, okay? If I had assigned these courses to students, and if anybody was having any trouble, on my dashboard, if you saw it in the video, there would be a list of names here if the students were having trouble. So it sends me those alerts if my students were having trouble that I can get them. Okay, so what I'm going to do is access one called High School Algebra 1. So let's just view this particular course. And on the left-hand side of the screen, these would be the modules. Module 1, Module 2, and so think of it as the book, chapters within the book. Now, if I had assigned this prescriptively, the student would have had that pretest on Module 1, passed it, moved on. If I'd assigned it sequentially, moving through it, one at a time, depending on how you assign it. I want to log and get right in and just show you an example of what the student might see. So the student here is doing rational numbers, adding rational numbers. They have worked through just a little bit, and you can see right down at the bottom, I've gone through, and I'm on pages 6 of 15, so I'm not just on the first page. They've done some work through this. And what I wanted you to be able to see as we launch through this, how students have the tools that they need when they're appropriate for learning. So this student is actually going to see a video, and it's going to help him to understand what is it all about when I need to do and add rational numbers.
Modeling integers using tiles. In math, you're going to spend a lot of time with positive and negative integers. So it might be helpful if you know how to model them. You can do this using colored tiles. We'll use a yellow tile to represent a positive integer. And we'll use a red tile to represent a negative integer. Take a look at these tiles. They represent the integer values of -4, 3, and -2. When you work with tiles, there's one equation that's going to help a lot. It's 1 plus -1 equals 0. 1 and -1 are opposites. When you add opposites, the sum is always 0. Using the tiles, we can model the equation like this. Because the combination of a positive yellow tile and a negative red tile is so useful, the pair gets a special name. They're called a zero pair. Take a look at these tiles. They represent an integer. But to find out which one, you need to group and remove zero pairs. So let's do that. Match each yellow tile with a red tile to make a zero pair. Since the sum of a zero pair is, well, 0, then each zero pair can be removed. There are 3 negative tiles left, so the integer is -3. Here's another model. Since the tiles are already grouped, just remove the 0 pairs. Here's one, here's another, and another. When all the 0 pairs are gone, 4 positive tiles are left. That's the integer 4. You getting the hang of it? Now, use the tiles to find -7 plus 3. For the -7, use 7 red tiles. For 3, use 3 yellow tiles. Again, we'll group the 0 pairs and then remove them. Here's a 0 pair, and another, and one more. There are 4 negative tiles left. So the sum of -7 plus 3 is -4. Wow. Who would have thought these simple little tiles could be so helpful when working with integers?
Okay, so I want to remind you, we jumped in on page 6. But had we started at the beginning, we would have had, it goes right down to that objective level. And I just didn't want to navigate every page. So the objective level, understanding what is the vocabulary, the 0 pair, and then moving them into video. How many of you understood zero pairs right then? Yeah, I've done that a lot, and people say, you know what, I never understood that, but I got it now. So you got it now? Great. So that is just one example of what students might do. Remember we said that we can do not only math, the core, but we can also do your reading. And I'm just going to jump in and just show you a little bit of the reading. So this happens to be an English 3. So think of an English 3, again, depending on how it's delivered, as to how the student navigates the software. I'm going to jump in, and right here, if you can see, I am working, these are my modules. We're on sentence parts, phrases, and clauses, and had the student been assigned sequential, he must go through each one. But if he was assigned prescriptive and didn't do well, then the software is delivering just what he needs. So we're going to jump into this particular one, and let's navigate this and just see a little bit of what a student might do. All right, so as the student navigates, it says the examples and exercises in this section are about national parks, so the student's going to get a little bit of science within the English here, content. And again, in this is at the objective level. Here's the vocabulary the student needs. We're always encouraging them. Remember, this is online, virtual learning, blended learning, any kind of learning like that. The student's moving through this. This is the terms that the student needs. He's adding this to his notebook, his or her notebook. And as they move through, here's the lesson where they're learning. Now, we're not going to take the time to read each one, but this is where they're telling about what are adjectives that are known as participles, what are they? Giving them some guided practice as they do this. And we notice we can't move forward without doing these. So if I do these, so which word in the sentence functions as an adjective? Anybody know? Which we were hiking along a winding trail. Anybody know? Winding. Now let's get it right. I'll get one. Okay, we're going to submit that answer. We got it correct. Had we missed it, it would have corrected us. All right, we're going on. And the student now is getting more. And it says copy the chart into your notebook. What is this? We're getting the forms and examples. After we get this copy of the entire notebook, we're moving on. So we just wanted to give you just a little feel and taste of the software. But just as we have within the math, we also have, if we moved along, there'll also be video within this built in for the student when that is appropriate. So grad point, and I'm just going to move out of this and move back here and just say, when we're talking about grad point, when you're looking at, we saw an example of the math, we saw an example of the reading, but the student will be looking at text within as they work through this, because this is your English 3, your English 4 courses, the actual courses that students will do. All right, moving along. What makes grad point unique? There are 3 elements that I think that really make and set grad point apart. The instructional design of it, where the student's interacting with that text, getting the video when appropriate. I can customize it. We've given you 3 different paths that the students can take. I can also, when the students fail something, I can go back and reassign something. I can customize courses for them. And the easy navigation of it. You don't have to have a lot of student conferencing about how to use the program. It's a natural flow for them to do it. So that's really what makes it unique. This is web-based. It means students can do it from anywhere when it's web-based. So if you're looking at, hey, can I do some sort of blended learning at my school? Can I not, if I don't have a teacher to teach Chinese 3 and I need that course, rather than denying a student a course, we can offer this and they can do it. It's supported on a platform known as Brain Honey, and it has won Cody Awards for that particular, and that will be able to be accessed from within your Powerschool, is our point there. With grad point, we're looking at every single student within your building, every structure, it means every building that we have, every charter school that we have, every single student within every single charter school. We want every one of them graduating. And if they use the program with fidelity, that's what the whole key is, fidelity, they can graduate on time. And that's what grad point's designed to, getting every student to graduate. Any questions about grad point?
Just
Yes.
have one. Maybe I've missed something. In terms of, let's say you have a student who did miss something, they evidently failed a course, whatever it is. You're in the scripted mode. The student takes the module, the student fails the module based on whatever deficit they might have in terms of their own learning style. When they repeat the module, is it taught in the exact same way they did the first time, even with grad point?
So I'm going to let Julia, if you will address that.
No, sir, it's very randomized. And that's one of the things that makes the program so unique too, is that there's a huge database of questions. It's going to come back, it's going to have a little bit different slant on how it teaches it, tweaks it a little bit, and then it's going to go back. One of the neat things is, it kind of discourages cooperative learning, if you know what I mean. So if all four of you all were taking the same lesson, you're going to be looking at different things. Your questions are going to be a little different. So you couldn't just yell out B, everybody get B, and get it all right. It's going to vary for student. And one of the things too is that when you go into that pretest, you have to score 80% on each of those objectives. So overall, you might have made 80%, but you could have been 90, 90, 90, but then failed one out of 50. You've got to pass on the first three, but that last one is the one that caught you. And so it's going to be sure, because we don't know which one of those objectives is the very thing that may be on the course test, or really the thing that you didn't know.
But it's going to concentrate on that particular?
Yes.
Then it will concentrate just on that objective. But then when you take a post-test, it's going to cover all four again. You want to make sure you didn't just kind of accidentally eat through on that. And so, but the other piece is sometimes, you know, the teacher may know they're in a bit of a bad day. There had been something happening at home, or, you know, the girl broke up with the boyfriend and just out of sorts that day. So if you know these kind of things, the teacher then still has the capability of talking to the student. If they want to pass them off, they can do that as well.
So we can override that if necessary. So thank you, Julia. All right, yes.
Is it a program that can also be used for students who pass would be a supplement?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. In regular classroom.
Yes, it can be used as a supplemental tool, just as I demoed it on this board. A teacher can demo it on the whiteboard using a small group, whole group, or a student doing supplemental. Absolutely. Good point. What was that?
I say we encourage that.
Oh, yes. All right. Well, let's move on because we got 3 products that we want to do. Where are my K-8 people? Hands up. Big hands up. I'm not seeing many. Big hands up. That means nobody over here is K-8. What are we over here? Now, I want you to think, because I want to talk to you as well, even though I say K-8. Let me rephrase that. How many of you have students performing on a K-8 level? It doesn't matter what that body's in. I thought I might have that side of the room. Thought I might have an Amy corner. Okay. Success Maker is that K-8 product, and I'm not talking about that body that's K-8. I'm talking about that mind that's K-8. So what Success Maker has within it are 2 courses, a reading course and a math course, and both of them span K-8 level. So if I have high schoolers performing below grade level, that certainly is a need. If they can't do high school math, there are some gaps in that learning. If they can't do high school reading, there may be some gaps. So Success Makers might be able to serve you there. So if a student works through the reading, I just want to show you the depth and the breadth of the software. If a student worked through the reading, K-8, that student would be exposed to more than 440 books. The genres, if you paid attention to the genres, every genre that you can think of, from the beginning reader through a Lexile level of 1,250. So a great course. It's designed for those high schoolers who are not working on grade level, can be. Now, Success Maker, how does it work? I will tell you, I've been with Pearson myself for 23 years. Prior to coming to Pearson, I was a classroom teacher using Success Maker. Now, has it changed in the 23 years? Yes, because we first said Pearson is ever changing to develop and evolve into what we need in the educational market today. So it has changed. But as these students work in the software, I taught middle school math, and my students, I had the bottom lowest quartile of the school, and I think of your school and pick your lowest quartile. That's who I was blessed with. My job as the math teacher was 1 period, and I wasn't supplemental, I was everything. Elizabeth, your job is get them on grade level, get them up to grade level, and get them on grade level. I want them tested at grade level, and that was my challenge. I had a partner next door. He was the English language arts teacher. He was challenged with the same thing. So as that English language arts teacher, when the students work through the software, they're seeing Lexile level passages. So if I have a student in grade 4, or think of a student in high school performing, every grade has, and down here are my tabs to show you, we have all the passages within the software. But the nice thing about it is, even though we're a math course and a reading course, if you look at that last column, they're getting science and social studies instruction within those Lexile leveled passages that they're reading. Now, this is an example of a grade 2 where the student's just working in the software, and this is just 1 page of meaning in that particular text. I just want to be able to show you the Lexile level passages, because I'm not going to have time to launch a software. If you want to come by our booth, I'll be happy to launch the software and show it to you. But I want to point out to you that our software is age appropriate. So if I have a student working in the software at grade 4, his environment is going to look like a grade 4. But if I have that high schooler or that middle schooler working at a grade 4 level, I want you to notice the content of both of them. They look very different, don't they? Because we're going to make that software look and feel age appropriate for these students. And that software is going to be, it's the very same questions, but it's all about the environment with which the student's working in. So again, we can adapt it for these students in the software. So whether they take the reading portion or they take the math portion, this is the theme or a background that this Kendrick has chosen. Whereas we might have a middle schooler who says, you know what, I don't want one of those characters, and if they had the choice of a character, they'd be more mature looking characters. But the student chose, and this is a student choice, of an environment that they may choose, a little neutral background instead of cartoon characters. But as they work in the software, they're getting that age-appropriate content for what they need, as well as a background. Now, how does it work? How many of you found the location of this Hilton hotel with the GPS today or yesterday, whenever you came in? Some of you knew where it was, so you had a GPS in your head. But whether that GPS is something mounted in your car or in your head, you've got to be thinking, where am I? Where am I what? Where am I going? And then how am I going to get there? That's exactly what a GPS does. Now, I want to share just a quick story because I think it's phenomenal to attach it to Success Maker. About 2 months ago, I was in Charlotte. Sat down at a Panera Bread, and distinctly remember sitting down at the Panera Bread, I was going to have a working lunch. Any of you have working lunches? Got down, sat down to have a working lunch. Sat down, my bowl of soup, my tea, and my iPad. Closed my eyes for about probably 30 seconds. Took about 5 bites of my soup, went to reach for my iPad, and it was gone. Gone. Called the manager over there. He said, we've never had this happen in our store before, but I distinctly remember having it because, you know, you got the balancing act of how am I going to get it all to the table. So he says, you know what, I'll just pretend I am going to bust tables for a little bit. We're going to find your iPad. Well, we didn't find that iPad. Long story short, Pearson said to call the police, file a report on it. Well, they came, and so we filed a report. You know how long that takes. This is not minutes. This is hours that I've been there by this time. And the police last comment to me was, if you get any information, call us. And I'm thinking, me? You're the police. Me get some information. But anyway, with a heavy heart, left Charlotte, went to Winston-Salem. About an hour and a half drive. And as I'm getting and approaching Winston-Salem, I remember having a conversation with my grandson, and he said, Nan, if you ever lose your iPad, you can find it. And I'm thinking, Chase, where are you? Now, Chase is 6th grade. Pearson couldn't tell me how to find it. Chase, where are you? I hope that you're going to turn your phone on as soon as you get out of school. And he did. Chase, what's Nana do? Nana, did you lose your iPad? I sure did. He said, go on iCloud.com. How many of you have gone and looked for a missing device before? Nobody? Well, let me tell you what it'll do. It will show you going down the highway with a green dot, where your iPad is. With a green dot. Couldn't call the police because what am I going to tell them? It's moving along the highway? They're not going to go get it. I knew it had to be in a location. So when it got into a house, I could pull it up and I can say, here's your address, 6 house, go to the cul-de-sac, 6 house, it's in the house. And they said, we've never done this before. It scared them to death. I'm telling them where to go get it, but that was their last comment. If you get any information, call. Long story short, they were able to retrieve my iPad. And I got it back. Drove back to Charlotte and got my iPad. I say that to you because I think it's a wonderful story of how our software works. What our software is going to do for each student is it's going to, when we put them into the software, it's going to put them at grade level. Where are you? And then it's going to assess them and move them, whether it be above grade level, on grade level, or below grade level. So it's going to have every student at a unique place in the software. So if they're below grade level, Success Maker's going to bridge the gap. If they're on grade level, it's going to cover those same Common Core standards that you're going to get in the classroom. It's going to reinforce them on the computer. If they're above grade level, they're going where your teacher's not going. Because teachers are saying, we got to teach to who? To my grade level, to my standard. And so what it's going to do is deliver to those students above grade level work. And that's how Success Maker is unique to every student. Now, if the student is getting work, it's designed that when they're on this path, the idea is get them as master as many skills as we can, grow that grade level. But in the event, when they're doing those progress monitoring check and they don't do well, the software is going to take the student and move them off the main road over here and going to offer them some scaffolded instruction. Why did you not do well? Let me give you an intervention, and that happens automatically. The teacher doesn't go in and program anything. It's saying, oh, you need a sequential practice. Let me give you a little more. Let me make sure that you got it. Or you might need a prerequisite skill. So it's delivering to the student, trying to get them where? Back on the path. If you took a wrong turn this morning, you're on that GPS, you plotted where you are, it knows where you are, it knows where you're going. How many of you got off the path? How many of you have ever gotten off the path? Come on. And what does that, if you got an old GPS, what does it say? Recalculating. They've learned to stop that now. My new one doesn't say that to me. It just does it automatically. But that's what the software does. It's automatically recalculating where that student needs to be. Now, within the learning management system, the nice thing about both GradPoint as well as Success Maker is I can access not for the student, I want to make that very clear, but for this teacher, I can access the management system on an iPad. So if I am that teacher, whether I'm in GradPoint or Success Maker, I can always track what they're doing here on my iPad. It is not for the student yet. That's forthcoming, and it's going to be right out the door. We're very soon on that. But what I want to show you is that as a teacher, we can get in here, and as we're looking at Success Maker, and what I'm on a demo site in Arizona, so if it takes a little bit of lag time, I'm using that demo site to go in here and show you what a teacher might see as they log in to look at the management system. All right, this is the teacher logging in. Right away, the teacher's going to see a screen, and what they have is the dashboard. The dashboard is designed to give me a digital look, a digital glance into what my students are doing. So if I'm that digital teacher, this is really going to satisfy me. But we're also going to have printed reports as well. So from here, I can go down here and pull a report. But we're looking at the digital dashboard right now. And I'm not going to do a training, so I'm going to just make it quick and fast. The teacher right here has a dashboard saying, are you using Success Maker with fidelity? Because this is designed to say, are you using at least 3 times a week? If you're using it with those students 3 times a week, they're going to be in the green. It's going to say, you're on track. If we miss some, that means those that are yellow, it means they're right at that cutoff. If I'm supposed to have so many at 15 hours, it means they're right there. Teacher, be careful. And those that are red are falling behind. Now, as a teacher, I can quickly say, well, who's falling behind? I got some students here in reading that are falling behind and don't have the time that they need, and I can just click and it's a drill down. It says, here are your students that are falling behind. And I can see the line as far as where they need to be, and then I will see the amount of time that they have. So if I have a brand new student that just came to my school, of course she's going to be in the red, and there's a reason. But for these others, it makes me, as a teacher, question, have I gotten them on? Have I been doing my job of getting these students on? All right, let me go back then quickly. And then not only will I have usage, but I will be able to see their mastery. So I can look at their reading math skills, I can look at their reading skills, and I can see as a teacher what they've been proficient in and what they're missing, because what it's going to do, it's going to color code it for me. If it's in red, that means these students haven't mastered it. If it's in yellow, that means they're at risk. And then if they have mastered it, they're in green. So I have a picture here. One of the frustrating things for me as a teacher, as it got close to state test time, I began to panic. And I said, what do I need to cover in the next 3 weeks? Here's my view. I look at my grade level objectives and I find where my red, I find where my yellow. And this helps me, instead of spending all the time on what they do know, on focusing on those that they don't know. So I can do that with both the math and the reading. I can quickly come up here and say, you know what, I want to look at my students and I want to look at their performance. Now when it comes up, it's going to show you each student for reading and math. That bothers me because I'm anal. How many of you are anal? Anybody in here can identify with that? It bothers me because, you know, I got to compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges. And when I look at math and reading, I can't do a comparison. That's me. So I can come down here and say, okay, Elizabeth, it doesn't fit your style. So let's just look at the reading then. So I could have chosen to look at just the math. So now I'm looking at every student in my class. I'm looking at the reading. I can see where they were assigned. I can see where they placed. IP is their initial placement. Did they go up or did they go down from where they were placed into the software? That gives me a big picture of where they're at. How much gain or movement have they made in the course? And what level are they working at right now? How well are they doing? But the beauty of this is, how many of you have a remediation teacher at your school? An RTI teacher, hands up, you know what I'm talking about? And they go in and say, you know what, I'd love to work with this student. Can I pick on you? But tell me what I need to do. Give me the tools to work with. Because you've asked me to do something specific with her, and I need something to work with. You know, that was my case as a classroom teacher. I could identify those skills, but where were my help when I needed it? What tool did I get? Built within SuccessMaker, all I have to do is click on this action button, and it will pull up for me what we call a student performance details. When it pulls this up, is anybody in here tracking RTI, response to intervention? Anybody in your school doing that? This is, if you're not there yet, you'll be there. It's a matter of time, when are we going to be there? Response to intervention. How well is the student doing and they're responding to the intervention that I've provided? That's what this is. This is telling me the student has 2 targets. They have a primary target, getting on grade level. So if it's a 3rd grader, where do I want them at the end of grade 3? Grade what? 4. That's the primary target. Secondary target. Where did they place, what was their IP level 1 year above, making at least a year gain? That becomes their secondary. And now every time the student logs on, if I roll over this is live. I can see at any given point how well the student has done on any given day, which makes it an RTI tracking tool. As that classroom teacher, I can also scroll down here to the bottom, and it's going to give me his or her last session data. Each bar represents an objective that student did. Well, as a classroom teacher, I just sing hallelujahs to those that are in purple, because they did really, really well. But my focus as a classroom teacher says, what did they not do so well on? So I can hover my mouse over any one of these bars and see what they did well in, as well as see what they didn't do so well in. If I launch that and click on that, it will open up a window and say, Elizabeth, you're the classroom teacher. Here is the objective. They're identifying preposition and prepositional phrases. Here is the learning objective. And all I have to do is click on that link and it will automatically launch the very objective that the student worked on yesterday that they were not successful with.
Written by Barbara Davis Piles.
Read the passage. Look at the underlined words. Explore their meanings in the glossary.
Okay, so a great tool. We'll also have with that being able to look at printed reports where we can track student progress. Now, we're saying it's time and need to wrap up that one or wrap up the whole thing? Okay. Let me just talk through Right to Learn. I'll go back to the booth, and if you need me to stay, I'll show you that one individually. Right to Learn. There's a student login, a teacher login. When the student logs in, there's going to be a dashboard. On that dashboard will be the assigned essays and or summary writings that the teacher has assigned. The student launches it. If it's an essay, it's a writing prompt, and they go to writing. The beauty of that is when they write, they can hit submit. Submit takes it, and within 3 seconds, we provide information back to the student. How did you do on the traits of writing? How well did you do? If you didn't do so well, here's a hint. How do you make it better? So the idea is we score it. We have what we call a CAT engine that not only can look at grammar and spelling, but it looks at the meaning of text. Did you copy it? Did you give something unimportant in there? So it's looking at the meaning of what they've written. So with that information, the whole idea is, student, if I'm that English teacher at your school and I've got a class of 20 students, I'm not going home and reading 20 essays tonight and writing on them, and then they're going to give them back and they're going to resubmit it 20, because if I allow them to submit it 6 times and I got just 20 students, I've read 120 essays. We're not taking the teacher out of this mix, but we're perfecting for that student the writing so that when the teacher does get it, the student has learned in that process. Does that make sense to you? And then the teacher comes in, and if they can override that scoring if they choose to. What some schools do is it's defaulted to allow them to do it 6 times. The closer it gets to the writing test, if you're having a writing test, we can decrease that to say you can only submit 1 time, and that's it. So a great tool. The teacher, on the other hand, can go in when they're assigning these prompts, can add their own if they choose to. So if I say I'm cross-curricular, there's nothing in there for the science of what I'm teaching, then Elizabeth, go in and write your own prompt, and you can assign those prompts to the students. So it is a phenomenal course that says, teacher, be a teacher and teach those skills. Let the software assist you in guiding them to become better writers, so that when they do start submitting at one time, we have taught them along the way without the teacher having to read every single one of them. But again, I want to emphasize it's not taking the teacher out of that process. The teacher through the management system can look at any student writing anytime they choose to. Julia, do you want to say anything else?
You were asking the grade levels. There are selections that go down to a Lexile level of 3rd grade. What we find is at 3rd grade, sometimes they really don't have the keyboarding skills. That's where it gets a little dicey. So that's why we say really 4th to 12th grade. But the thing that really makes it unique is as you get up to middle and high school, those of us that taught, I was the science teacher. I wasn't the English teacher. So in science, they should be writing, but I wasn't really comfortable, in all the grammar. So this is where you can get all of your content teachers involved in writing. And we did a great pilot for the state of North Carolina with Troutman Middle School. And what they found were twofers. Well, the twofer was the science teacher or the social studies teacher worked with the English teacher, and they created one project. The kids quickly found, I got 2 grades for the price of doing one thing. But for the teachers, it really helped them collaborate, and it really hits that common core. We're talking about looking at informational text, being able to take that text, read it, comprehend it and be able to write about it. And amazingly, what we also learned is if you read and you write about it, you're going to remember it a lot longer. Those of us that have a little gray in our hair, of course, maybe all my beautician knows that. But that's what we learned a long time ago. That's why you learn to take notes. If you read it, you talk about it, you write about it, you're going to retain it longer. And that's really what this program is about.
And we have a testimony that we don't have time to show you of a teacher in Georgia that used it, and he said the students took a test for one of their encore courses, and they didn't do so well. They came to him, they wrote about it, but that teacher moved on, didn't repeat what they did. He did it through writing, and then they retook the test. And oh, how much improvement they made, but it was like Julia said, it was writing all about it. ILET is totally delivered and can be delivered on an iPad. The other two cannot. The student can access ILET, whether it be iPad, I'm sorry, Right to Learn, keep me focused here, another product I was talking about. But Right to Learn can be delivered on the iPad, both the student and the teacher interface.
And Columbus County is using it on Nooks. So it can be used on, if you're doing Nooks in your classroom, or netbooks, or iPad.
Or even a computer.
Yeah, it works on any kind of device. So that's a neat thing. Is some of you I know are starting to buy some of these devices and use these. So that one can be used on anything.
So we've shared 3 products with you. We've looked at Grad Point, middle school, high school. We've looked at Success Maker, K-8, and then we looked at Right to Learn, 4 through 12. So we have a gamut. Those are not our only products, but those are 3 of the products that we have. If you're interested in those, please come by. We'd love to share more. Thank you.
Thank you.